YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Carl coming back at you from Golden Grimmer Productions. All right, so this time we are going to be highlighting Doc. I did take a poll, which should be on the screen right now, of who y'all wanted to see me react to. Now, take it. I still have part 2 and 3 of the Dream Team documentary that's going to probably be dropping today or tomorrow. Beyond the Glory Larry Bird will also be dropping either today or tomorrow. So no worries. All of those series will be completed. I do have them made, pre-recorded, and ready to drop. I just been kind of trying to mix it up. But if you are new, please like, share, and subscribe to the video. I greatly appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. We have been popping off, bro. The videos have been doing amazing. The feedback has been amazing. Y'all have been amazing. So we're gonna keep on doing this, popping these bangers out, man. So let's get straight into this video, man.
Hey man, it's your boy YG aka Yangala, and Julius Erving, also known as Dr. J. He was one of the most influential players in basketball, not just in NBA history, but in basketball. Before there was a Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and a Larry Bird, everybody wanted to be like Dr. J. It was just something about him. He just had that superstar swag to him. And this might be off topic, but every time I see Dr. J, he reminded me of one of my favorite basketball games, NBA Street Volume 2. And that reminded me of one thing. It was a
Hey, one thing, if anybody in the comment section can let me know, what was Doc's like official height and wingspan? So like, what was his actual height, and then what was it when he stood, like when he put his arms up? Because bro, watching him, just like from the little bit that I just seen, dude seemed like he had a very long wingspan, because it didn't seem like it took much for him to jump and dunk or layups. And it makes sense with him, his arms being as long as they are, for him to have done that layup where he was behind the backboard. So it makes more sense now.
Rucker Park legend, and that's where he earned himself the name Dr. J. And let me tell you how good Dr. J was. He won 3 championships, 4 MVPs, 3 from the ABA and 1 from the NBA, and in fact he's the only player to be voted MVP in both the ABA and the NBA. He also has 7-time All-NBA selections, 3 scoring titles, and if you combine his points from the ABA and the NBA, he will be number 8 on the all-time scoring list. And finally, he was selected to the All-Star game 11 times. That was about half of everything he did. He was truly an iconic basketball player. And some people might not know this, but he was the first player to do the free throw line dunk. And he kind of set the path for dunkers like Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Vince Carter, just to name a few. He's the first player that made dunking look like art. And he's definitely one of the players that I wish I got to see on live television. There were just so many amazing stories about him. And if Michael Jordan was inspired by him, you know he's a legend. So anyways, man, let's listen to some NBA legends and players talk about how scary good Dr. J was. But before we get straight into that, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for the culture so you won't be missing any of my videos. And let's get to the vid, man.
So I was Julius Erving, and you know, he brought so much creativity to the game.
Here comes Julius Erving. You know what's next. Oh, what a shot by the Doctor.
You know, the under the hand against the Lakers, where you're behind the basket. We all tried to do it once he did it.
What a play by Erving. That's a play that only Julius could make.
I guess I would have never had those visions if I hadn't have seen Dr. J in his time.
I definitely remember Julius Erving. I was at that stage, I guess, where I really got into basketball when he was sort of in his prime. Dr. J, to me, was the NBA, and I just remember him dunking on everybody.
Look out! Slam dunk! Oh, Doctor!
I remember a dunk he had on Michael Cooper.
And it's crazy because Doc doesn't look like he would be that strong. But man, but he's built like Giannis is. Not as tall as Giannis, but he's built like Giannis, bro. Like very chiseled. And it seems like he took contact extremely well. And he was able to finish through the contact. And you gotta be strong to be able to do that.
Cooper, I think it may have been in the playoffs where he sort of cuffed it and just sort of dunked through him, on him, whatever you want to call it.
It's going to be stolen, I think, by the Doctor. Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. Way rock the baby to sleep and slam dunk.
Dr. J was a beautiful basketball player.
Come on, Cass.
And no grace, style, fly through the air. He dominated games when he wanted to. Dominated. And he just said, okay, that's it. My show tonight, I'm gonna affect the whole game. He just dominated with grace and style. Oh, man.
Julius Erving with an incredible shot.
Even looking back at it now, and I'm in the NBA and I'm playing, and I appreciate even more the stuff that he's done.
He played above the rim, he played around the rim, underneath. You know, he did a lot of different things, and you have to give the credit to Dr. J.
And the doctor, magnificent as usual.
Got to come down. There's no way he can stay in the air that long.
And he was just in the air.
Julius serving.
Jones with the ball. By Junior serving. Drives to the basket. Goes up and...
Bro, that layup's still crazy to this day. Like, his crafty finishing ability was crazy. He had nowhere to go with that. And his wing, bro, bro, that was nuts, bro.
Unbelievable shot. Listen to the fan.
Watch this fantastic move by the doctor. Julius in the air, prominent with the right hand, floating, reaching, and spinning it in. Incredible. The doctor with his magic shot.
Doc just picked the ball up with one hand without even touching it with the other one, and windmilled this ball like his arms stretched from over here.
Hey, wait, his name really World Be Free? Bro, what?
All the way like a rubber band. The crowd went crazy.
I can't believe that.
Did it, but believe me, he did it.
Dr. J could do things in today's game guys cannot do.
The doctor.
Julius was like that. I come from, you know, look at what he does out on the court. My God, you know, there was nobody like him.
Me and Darren Dawkins over there. Oh, my,
He was the first guy I ever saw with air brakes. Air brakes. He was
air brakes. I like that. I like that. That boy can stop in the air.
going to the basket straight. I was like, you know, somewhat like a girl. Oh! Oh!
Hey, do you know how good you gotta be, bro? Like, I say that about a lot of players, but boy, to have other NBA players like that man said like a girl, bro.
Never saw that before.
J. Julius Erving. When you come into the league, Doc's in your locker room. Did you approach him and say, hey, I'm Charles Barkley? Did he see you and say, welcome? How did that all work?
I've told this story 100 times and I never get.
I must not have been listening.
I told the brothers. Just the brothers. Ernie, the night before training camp, I was up all night. I was nervous because it was my first training camp, obviously. But the number one thing I thought about the whole night was, how am I going to approach Dr. J? Do I call him Dr. J, Julius, Mr. Irving? I had cold sweats thinking about that. And so I'm sitting in the locker room. Because first of all, not only that, Moses, Bobby Jones, Andrew Toney, Maurice Cheeks, like the Sixers, this was their heyday. So I was up like, God, I want to see all these guys I've been watching on TV. I don't know what to do. And Doc was clearly at the forefront. And I'm sitting there, and finally I'm in the locker room, and I said, well, I don't know what to do. And Doc comes over and says, hey, young fella, I'm Doc. And I said, I'm Charles Barkley. Ernie, I can't explain how nervous I was. Because like I said, that's when the Sixers was in their heyday. And seeing Doc and Moses Maurice and Bobby and all those guys, but Doc was the guy. That's one thing I always, like, we'll all have this in common. When we're growing up as little kids, there's very few players, the kids, say, I'm Dr. J, I'm John Havlicek, I'm Magic Johnson, I'm Larry Bird. We all got somebody, you know, who we are. And man, Doc was the guy for most people, especially somewhere like me where we don't have NBA basketball in Alabama. But he made it so, that's the only thing I was nervous about.
Who would you start your franchise with? With Larry Bird, Magic, and Michael? Well, Dr. J is who you would start your league with. And he's the guy who can be in an...
Like that take. Who you would start your franchise with, you'd say Michael, Larry, Magic. Who you would start the league with would be Dr. J. That's hard. Like that and some people might take that as, oh, you basically saying that you can't start the league with Michael, Larry, and Magic. No, that's not what they saying. But I think Dr. J probably was an advocate for the NBA at that time. So you know what I'm saying? Like he would be an ambassador, a great ambassador for the league.
Ambassador for the league. and he could be the spokesman, and his style of play was infectious. So he would create all of those things that those three had. Dr. J was the first league ambassador.
Fro really set him apart, especially in his ABA days, coming in, merging into the NBA. But look, I grew up a Laker fan, and in '83, obviously, you know, when Philly played the Lakers, how many of us here, seriously, after that move, when he went baselining, he held it, and how many of us went outside and tried to do that? We didn't have the big hands, but we all tried to be like Dr. J. We all tried to sail. We all tried to jump from the free throw line. I think he originally won the first slam dunk competition.
Reggie, you mentioned the Fro. How about the shoes?
Yeah.
Isn't he the first guy who had his own shoe? The Doc, remember the Converse Dr. J?
I think you're right, Steve.
I don't think anybody else up
Chuck
to that
Taylor.
point had their own Chuck Taylor. All right.
Doc was the first brand.
Yeah.
I think when also to echo Charles, you know, because Doc lives here in Atlanta and I'm still with him, you know, being around him, you're still nervous around Doc. You know, I still go up to him and I say, Doc, how you doing? And he said, I'm fine, Steve. He still has that fatherly figure over you. And like you said, Kenny, he's an ambassador of the league. I mean, Dr. J is something my dad talks about, my granddad talks about, I still talk about. I mean, I think he'll go one player like Michael, and those players will go through generations after generations.
How did he impact your development as a basketball player?
Well, I think it was just what you said, his style. I think the individuality of him on his teams is what made him, because you always knew Dr. J played on great teams and everything, but I knew Dr. J, who he was, whether it was with the Pisces or the fish to say Pittsburgh, and he had the same, you know, afro on, or it was just, you know, he was always professional, it seemed like. It seemed like, you know, it was always his demeanor, but you knew that what he had inside of him, you wanted it, and maybe you had a little bit of your own in there, and if you ever got the chance to play, you were going to do your dunks your way, you were going to do your things your way. I mean, no one glided or even tried to have body movements like him, and so he taught me, you know, you can be your own individual.
Doc was just so smooth. You know, he was smooth above the rim and below the rim. You know, he was just so cool doing it. I can remember one time at LSU, I missed class, and he was down there doing something for Converse, and Coach Brown brought him over. And when I woke up, it was a hand on my chest, and I thought it was a guy that if you miss class, you got to run laps. So I'm thinking, oh, man, I got to run these laps. And then when I looked up, it was Doc. He was like, how come you didn't go to class, big fella? And he was just so smooth. And, you know, we became friends, and when I decided to leave early.
Imagine being in college, bro. You laying in bed, basketball player, laying in bed, and then you feel a hand on your chest, and you wake up as Doc. What? Man, some people lucky, bro.
After calling my parents, Doc was one of the first people who I called. He was just so smooth, he was just so nice, and he was very hospitable.
Hairdo on.
And Doc, bro, he don't look like he's aged at all. Outside of the gray hair, bro, that man looks the same way he did when he was in the league, bro. Like, that man don't look old. The only thing that lets you know that he's older is his hair.
On that photo over there.
Look, I tried
a little bit of
tried to do the Dr. J roll right there. I had a little curl.
EST,
Wow. I tried to have the Doc there. That was the best I could do.
Bro, Kenny the Jet Smith, bro. What is that?
Kenny and the Czar.
I look like Robert Reed.
Robert Reed Parker Jr., Kenny. T-Mac, when was the first time you saw Dr. Dunk?
Jeez. Classic films. The one on the Lakers when he cuffed it. I mean, that's like the greatest of all time. You know, favorite dunk.
Stolen, I think, by the Doctor. Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. Way rock the baby to sleep and slam dunk.
Was it
the Cooper dunk?
Yes.
When I grew up in New York City, and the Doctor was playing with the Nets. And so Larry Keenan, Super John Williamson, those were the guys I always watched early on. And Doc had the big fro. And we used to always have jokes that Doc could go, he was able to dunk on people so much because he had the big fro. And he put the ball behind his head, and then he'd move his hands, and then he'd pull it back out of his head, and he'd dunk it. So it was just like, but his illusion, and I think, and his dunk was great, but I think the way all of us have probably admired more the way he carried himself off the court, because he had a demeanor. It was the first time we saw what a superstar sports figure in basketball was. I think we've seen it like in music, we've seen it in other characters, but nobody had seen what a superstar basketball player was until we saw Dr. J.
I would venture to say Doc, because every kid growing up in my era wanted to be Dr. J. He kind of set the stage for what guys do today, like myself. because there's a lot of dunks that he did that players today still can't do. Some and the way he did it, you know, I never seen nobody go around the backboard on the other side, come back and finish and dunk it in traffic. I mean, look at the dunk against Bill Walton. You know, Bill Walton was one of the great shot blockers. I mean, he had no chance of blocking Doc shots. So I would say he's the best of all time.
So guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and tell me if y'all have any favorite.
All right, I'm gonna have to definitely watch more Doc's like content, bro. I need to watch more of his highlights because dude, look, bro, that fro was crazy. But even when he did the interview, he seemed like he keeps a certain demeanor outside of the fight with Larry Bird. Outside of the fight with Larry Bird, but he keeps his demeanor something serious. So Doc is definitely one of those players that I'm gonna dig further into. The next one I think is gonna probably be either Charles Barkley or Bill Russell, but I'm gonna mix in all of my videos. I'm gonna mix it up for y'all on a week-to-week basis. You know what I'm saying? So I love y'all. I enjoyed this, bro. It's Carl from Golden Grimmett Productions. Until the next one, peace.